Charisma gets people to like you, trust you, and want to be led by you. Like it or not, charisma can make the world go round. It makes people want to do what you want them to do. Charismatic leaders cause followers to become highly committed to the leader's mission, to make significant personal sacrifices, and to perform above and beyond the call of duty. Charisma is the result of specific nonverbal behaviors, not an inherent or magical personal quality. The equation that produces charisma is faulty simples. All you have to do is give the impression that you possess both high power and high warmth. A final dimension underlies both of these qualities. Presence. Chapter 1. Charisma demystified. Charisma itself will make you more attractive. When instructed to exhibit special charismatic behaviors in controlled experiments, participants' levels of attractiveness were rated significantly higher than before. 3 quick tips to gain an instant charisma boost. Lower the intonation of your voice at the end of your sentences. Reduce how quickly and how often you nod. Pause for 2 full seconds before you speak. Chapter 2. The charismatic behaviors. Charismatic behavior can be broken down into 3 elements: presence, power, and warmth. Presence. When we're not fully present in an interaction, people will see it. Our body language sends a clear message that other oppose read and react to, at least on a subconscious level. Not only can lack of presence be visible, it can also be perceived as inauthentic. When you are perceived as disingenuous, it's virtually impossible to generate trust, rapport, or loyalty. And it's impossible to be charismatic. Being present means having a moment-to-moment awareness of what's happening. It means paying attention to what's going on rather than being caught up in your own thoughts. Putting it into practice. Presence. Set a timer for 1 minute. Close your eyes and try to focus on one of 3 things. Sounds. Scan your environment for sound. Imagine your ears are satellite dishes, passively registering sounds. Your breath. Focus on your breath and the sensations it creates in your nostrils or stomach as it goes in and out. Your toes. Focus your attention on the sensations in your toes. The next time you're in a conversation, try to regularly check whether your mind is fully engaged or whether it's wandering elsewhere. When you're fully present, even a 5-minute conversation can create a wow effect, as well as an emotional connection. The people you're with feel that they have your full attention and that they are the most important thing in the world to you at that moment. Over time you bring yourself back to full presence, you ramp major rewards. You become more impactful, more memorable, and come across as more grounded. Power and warmth. Being seen as powerful means being perceived as able to affect the world around us. We look for clues of power in someone else's appearance, in others' reaction to this person, and, most of all, in the person's body language. Warm, simply put, is goodwill towards others. Warmth tells us whether or not people will want to use whatever power they have in our favor. Warmth is assessed almost entirely through body language and behavior. Throughout our interactions, we look for clues with which to evaluate warmth or power. Expensive clothing leads us to assume wealth. Friendly body language leads us to assume good intentions. A confident posture leads us to assume the person has something to be confident about. In essence, people will tend to accept whatever you project. Charismatic body language. For charisma, your body language matters far more than your words do. Without realizing it, our bodies send out thousands of signals every minute. Just like our breath and heartbeat, these signals are part of the millions of bodily functions controlled not by our conscious mind but by our subconscious mind. There is far too much body language for us to control consciously. We can't consciously control all of our body language, or micromanage charismatic body language. Since our subconscious is responsible for most of our nonverbal signals, if we could direct our subconscious appropriately, then the issue would be solved. Our body language expresses our mental stage whether we like it or not. Because we don't control this flow consciously, whatever is in our head will show up in our body language. Because what's in your mind shows up in your body, and because people will catch even the briefest micro-expression, to be effective, charismatic behaviors must originate in your mind. In order to develop charisma, you need first and foremost develop internal skills. Individuals with internal skills are aware of what exactly is happening inside them and know how to handle it. They can recognize when their self-confidence has taken a hit and can get back to a confident state. Your mind can't tell fact from fiction. Because your brain can't distinguish imagination from reality, imaginary situations cause your brain to send your body the same commands as it would for a real situation. Whatever your mind believes, your body will manifest. In medicine, the mind's powerfully positive effect on the body is known as the placebo effect. The mind-over-body effect also has a corresponding downside, called the nocebo effect, where mind creates toxic consequences in the body in reaction to completely fictional causes. This mind over body effect also has. Chapter 3. The obstacles to presence, power, and warmth. Physical discomfort. Any physical discomfort that affects your visible, external state, your body language even slightly, may affect how charismatic you are perceived to be. When interacting with someone, assume that he or she will feel that whatever you do relates to him or her. Counteracting charisma impairing physical discomfort is simple. Prevent. Recognize. Remedy or explain. Always make sure to plan ahead to make sure you're physically comfortable. Keeping this in mind as you make your choices every day is a simple way to make charisma easier to attain. Any physical distraction or discomfort will use up part of your mental focus and impair your performance. Awareness is the second step. Check in with your ace from time to time, notice if it is tense. The more present you are, the better your chances of noticing if your body language is showing tension. The third step is to take action. If you realize that something has created tension in your face, do something about it. When the physical discomfort can't be alleviated, take a moment to explain that you're in discomfort due to a particular issue. Mental discomfort. Psychological discomfort can play out through our bodies as well as through our minds. It affects both how we feel and how we're perceived. Anxiety caused by uncertainty. A state of uncertainty is an uncomfortable place to be. Patients often report they would rather receive a negative diagnosis than be left in suspense. Our inability to tolerate uncertainty leaves us to feel anxious. Being anxious impacts our internal stage, making it harder to be present, and it lowers our confidence. Our minds are fundamentally uncomfortable with uncertainty. Uncertainty registers as a tension. Something that must be corrected before we can feel comfortable again. The ability to be comfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity turns out to be one of the strongest doctors of success. Putting it into practice. Responsibility transfer. Whenever you feel your brain rehashing possible outcomes to a situations, try a transfer of responsibility to alleviate the anxiety. Sit comfortably, or lie down, relax, and close your eyes. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths. As you inhale, imagine drawing clean air toward the top of your head. As you exhale, get it whoosh out, washing all your worries away. Imagine lifting the weight of everything you're concerned about off your shoulders and placing it in the hands of whichever benevolent entity you'd like to put in charge, God, Giant. Now that everything is taken care of, you can sit back, relax and enjoy whatever good you can find along the way. The responsibility transfer does not actually dispel uncertainty. Instead, it makes the uncertainty less uncomfortable. It helps you be less affected by it, drawing you out of the negative mental and physical states that often accompany a position of not knowing. Dissatisfaction caused by comparison. The very act of comparing and evaluation hinders our ability to be fully present. Trying to optimize both impairs our presence and creates anxiety due to the pressure of finding the best possible choice. Trying to fight our tendency to compare can take a lot of effort. Instead, notice when you're making comparisons and use the responsibility transfer technique to alleviate any internal discomfort it may have caused. Self-criticism. Few things impact people's performance more than how they feel about themselves. Psychological negativity can have real physical consequences. Self-criticism can generate an automatic physical reaction known as the threat response or fight or flight response. The threat response impacts analytic thinking, creative insight, and problem solving. This kind of negativity doesn't just affect our actual performance, it also affects how others perceive us. Self-doubt. Self-doubt is lack of confidence in our own ability to achieve something. It's the fear that there is something essential that we lack, something necessary but unattainable, and that we are just not good enough. The imposter syndrome is when competent people feel they don't really know what they're doing and are just waiting for someone to expose them as fraud. 70% of the population has experienced this feeling at one time or the other. Chapter 4. Overcoming the obstacles. Skillfully handling any difficult experience is a 3-step process. Destigmatize discomfort. Neutralize negativity. Rewrite reality. Step 1. Destigmatize discomfort. Destigmatizing an experience means reducing its power simply by understanding that it's normal, common, and nothing to be anxious about or ashamed of. To destigmatize, remind yourself that this internal discomfort is a normal part of the human experience and a byproduct of one of our brain's survival mechanics. It helps to think of others who have experienced what you're going through. Another way to destigmatize is to remind yourself that you're not alone in this experience. Out of 7 billion people, plenty are going through the same thing. Of all the emotions that humans can feel, shame is one of the most toxic to health and happiness. Shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience or believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Putting it into practice. Destigmatizing discomfort. The next time an uncomfortable emotion is hindering you, try this step-by-step guide to destigmatizing. Remind yourself that this is normal and that we all experience it from time to time. Think of others who have gone through this, especially people you admire. Remember that right now, in this very moment, many others are going through this very same experience. Step 2. Neutralize negativity. The next step is to neutralize negative thoughts. The best way to do this is to realize that your thoughts aren't necessarily accurate at all. The next time you see coldness or reservation in someone's face while they're talking to you, try to remember that it could simply be the visible signs of their internal discomfort. Sometimes, our mind will present us with a seriously distorted view of reality. And the distortion often skews negative because the elements that are danger-focused brain gems important are usually the most negative ones. When your brain spins negative scenarios, remind yourself that you may not be getting an accurate perfection of reality. Your brain might be following its negativity bias. Putting it into practice. Neutralizing negativity. Use these techniques anytime you're having persistent negative thoughts and you'd like to lessen their effects. Remember that these thoughts may be inaccurate. See your thoughts as graffiti on a wall or as little electrical impulses. Depersonalize the experience. Observe it as a scientist might. How interesting, there are self-critical thoughts arising. Imagine yourself from afar. Zoom out to see planet Earth hanging in space. Zoom back in to see your tiny self having a particular experience at this particular moment. Imagine your mental chatter as coming from a radio, turn the volume down, or put the radio to the side. Consider the worst case outcome for your situation. Realize that whatever it is, you'll survive. Because trying to suppress a self-critical thought only makes it more central to your thinking, it's a far better strategy to simply aim to neutralize it. Step 3. Rewrite reality. When people are induced into a negative emotional state and then asked to suppress negative emotions, their internal negative experience often remains unchanged and they sustain elevated stress responses in their brain and cardiovascular system. Deciding to change your belief about what happened, called cognitive reappraisal, effectively decreases the brain's stress levels. Research shows that deciding to change beliefs was a far more effective and healthier solution than attempting to repress or ignore emotions. I decide to interpret everything favorably toward myself. It's not just that I'm optimistic, I'm actually conveniently deluded. When a difficult experience arises and risks impairing your charisma levels, rather than trying to suppress or ignore your internal difficulties, consider a few alternate versions of reality. Conjure a few different scenarios that would induce you into a more useful mental state. Parkinson's Law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Putting it into practice. Rewriting reality. If a persistent mental annoyance is causing irritation, use one of these techniques to imagine an alternative reality in order to regain a calm internal state. Ask yourself a few times, what if this experience is, in fact, a good thing for me? And watch how creative our mind can get with its answers. When you're dealing with more serious situations, write down your new realities by hand. Write the presentation is going well, or, better yet, use past tense. The presentation was a complete success. Writing accesses different parts of our brain and affects our beliefs in ways that other modes of expression do not. The act of committing things to writing has been shown to be critical both in changing person's mind and making imagined stories feel more real. Resentment is like drinking poison, and waiting for the other person to die. Putting it into practice. Getting satisfaction. Getting relief from resentment isn't easy, this is when rewriting your reality can be invaluable. Think of someone who has aggrieved you. Take a blank page and write them a letter saying everything you wish you had ever told them. Make sure you write it out by hand. When you've gotten absolutely everything off your mind, put the letter aside. Now write their answer, apologizing for everything they've done and taking responsibility for all their hurtful actions. For maximum effect, reread their apology a few times over the course of the week. This may feel alien at first, and you may not feel an immediate internship. However, over the next few days you may be amazed to feel this new reality gradually taking hold. Putting it all together. Checklist for overcoming negative internal states. Take a deep bath and shake out your body to ensure that no physical discomfort is adding to your tense internal state. Dedramatize. Remind yourself that these are just physical sensations. Destigmatize. Remind yourself that what your experience is normal. Neutralize. Remind yourself that those are not necessarily real. Consider a few alternate realities. Visualize a transfer of responsibility. Getting comfortable with discomfort. There's one last critical thing needed to overcome these articles. Being comfortable with discomfort. The solution is to delve into those very sensations of discomfort. Give full attention to the very sensations you'd instinctively want to push away. This serves a dual purpose. It gives your mind something concrete to focus on other than its growing conviction that the situation is unbearable. It also instantly brings you into full presence. Putting it into practice. Delving into sensations. To practice your endurance in uncomfortable situations, find a quiet spot to sit with a partner, and set a timer for 30 seconds. Look into your partner's eyes. As soon as you become aware of discomfort, notice where the feelings are located in your body. Delve into each sensation as much as you can, feel its texture. Describe each as if you were a chef describing a featured dish. Let the discomfort build. Observe and name the sensations you feel. Hot, cold, tightness in your jaw, a knot in your stomach. Resist the urge to launch, talk, or relieve the discomfort. Try the same practice, this time giving yourself continuous encouragement. Remind yourself that your efforts will reap rewards and that the discomfort will pass. The ability to handle discomfort is a highly valuable skill. The less discomfort affects you, the fewer the situations that can impair your charisma potential. Putting it into practice. Stretching your comfort zone. Some techniques to help you build comfort with discomfort. Hold eye contact longer than is comfortable. Experiment with personal space. Move closer to people that you usually would in an elevator. Notice the urge to revert to your standard behavior. Chapter 5. Creating charismatic mental states. Visualization. There is good evidence that imagining oneself performing an activity activates parts of the brain that are used in actually performing the activity. Whenever we use our brain, we fire certain neuronal connections, and the more these connections get used, the stronger they become. You can build and then strengthen whichever mental tendencies you focus on. The right visualization can help you increase your internal feeling of confidence as well as your ability to project it. Just by using the right mental images, your subconscious mind will send a remarkable chain reaction of confidence signals cascading through your body. You can display nearly any body language just by picking the right visualization. Putting it into practice. Visualization. Close your eyes and relax. Employ your senses as you focus on a moment in your life when you felt triumphant. Hear the sounds in the room. The murmurs of approval, the swell of applause. See people's smiles and expressions of warmth and admiration. Feel your feet on the ground and the congratulatory handshakes. Above all, experience your feelings, the warm glow of confidence rising within you. You can also add real sensory input to your visualizations. For instance, play music while you verbalize or sub-vocalize. Choose a song that makes you feel energized and confident. Add movement to make your visualization reach an entirely new level. Creating certain movements or postures can bring up specific emotions in your mind. Visualization is truly a miracle method, helping you boost confidence, emanate more warmth, replace anxiety with calm serenity, or gain access to whichever emotion you'd like to feel and then broadcast it through your body language. Gratitude, goodwill, and compassion. Warmth is one of the key components of charismatic behavior. It can make people like you, trust you, and want to help you. The first step is to get in touch with warmth directed toward life in general, and your life in particular. Gratitude can give us charismatic warmth without having to connect with anyone. Step 1. Gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude is a great antidote for negative feelings because it comes from thinking of things you already have. Studies have shown that gratitude helps you live longer, healthier, and even happier. If you can access gratitude, an instant change will sweep through your body language from head to toe. Your body language will emanate both warmth and a particular ground confidence that people find very appealing. Human beings are instinctively wired for hedonic adaptation. The tendency to take our blessing for granted. Putting it into practice. Gratitude. For quick gratitude access, find there things you can approve of right now. Scan your body and your environment for little, tangible things you could be grateful for. Gratitude is both a great first step toward warmth and a solid technique to get back into a good mental state even in the midst of a difficult situation. Simply considering the possibility of gratitude or looking for small things to appreciate will send a positive change sweeping through your body language. Step 2. Goodwill and compassion. Goodwill is a highly effective way both to project warmth and to create a feeling of warmth in others. Goodwill improves how you feel as it floods your system with oxytocin and serotonin, both wonderful feel-good chemicals. Goodwill is the simple state of wishing others well. One simple way to start is to try and find 3 things you like about the person you want to feel goodwill toward. Find 3 things to appreciate or approve of, no matter how small, i.e. their shoes are shined. Another way to feel goodwill is to imagine the person you're speaking to, and all those around you, as having invisible angel wings. Many clients said this was an extraordinarily effective visualization. If you like auditory guides, think, I like you. And I like you just for you. Just love as much as you can from wherever you are. Of all the options open to me right now, which one would bring the most love into this world? In cases where goodwill is not enough, try going a step beyond to empathy and compassion. Goodwill means that you wish someone well without necessarily knowing how they feel. Empathy means that you understand what they feel. Compassion is empathy plus goodwill. You understand how they feel and you wish them well. Your willingness to focus on others' well-being is all you need to positively change your body language. This will be enough to give people the feeling that you really care about them, and is one of the core components of charisma. Putting it into practice. Compassion. Follow the 3 steps below to practice compassion for someone. Imagine their past. What was it like growing up in their family and experiencing their childhood? Imagine their present. Put yourself in their place. See through their eyes. Imaging what they might be feeling right now. Imagine delivering their eulogy. Ask yourself, what if this were their last day alive? Step 3. Self-compassion. Warmth can also be directed inward, toward ourselves. This self-directed warmth is called self-compassion, and though it can sound, and feel, uncomfortable, it can be a life-changing practice. Self-confidence is our belief in our ability to do or learn to do something. Self-esteem is how much we approve of or value ourselves. Self-compassion is how much warmth we have for ourselves, especially when we're going through a difficult experience. Individuals who score high on self-compassion scales demonstrate great emotional resilience to daily difficulties and fewer negative reactions to difficult situations. Higher self-compassion predicts a greater sense of personal responsibility for the outcome of events. It helps perfect levels of accountability. Self-compassion is feeling that what happened to you is unfortunate, whereas self-pity is feeling that what happened to you is unfair. Self-compassion is what helps us forgive ourselves when we've fallen short. It's what prevents internal criticism from taking over and playing across our face, ruining our charisma potential. Self-compassion delivers an impressive array of benefits. Decreased anxiety, depression, and self-criticism, improved relationships and greater feelings of social connectedness and satisfaction with life, increased ability to handle negative events, and even improved immune system functioning. Self-compassion is a 3-step process. Realize that you're experiencing difficulties. Response with kindness and understanding toward yourself when you are suffering or feel inadequate, rather than being harshly self-critical. Realize that whatever you're going through is commonly experienced by all human beings, and remembering that everyone goes through difficult times. Putting it into practice. Self-compassion. Keep a self-compassion list. Jot down 5 ways that you already care for yourself when you're having a hard time. Star those that are particularly effective. Metta is a Buddhist compassion and self-compassion practice that roughly translates to loving kindness. Metta causes people to emit deeper brain waves, bounce back from stress scenarios much faster, and enhances the happy region of the brain. Putting it into practice. Metta. The following visualization below will guide you through metta step by step. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take 2 or 3 deep breaths, letting them wash all your worries away. Think of any occasion in your life when you performed a good deed, however great or small. No thing of a being present, past, mythical, or actual that you can imagine having warm affection for you. Picture this being in your mind, and see their warmth, kindness, and compassion. Imagine their affection and let it envelop you. Feel them give you complete forgiveness for everything your inner critic says isn't good enough about your life. Feel them giving you complete acceptance as you are right now, with all your imperfections, at this stage of your progression. A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life. Researchers who started experimenting with these kinds of visualization with highly self-critical people reported significant reductions in depression, anxiety, self-criticism, shame and inferiority, while noting a significant increase in feelings of warmth and reassurance for the self. Using your body to affect your mind. Emotions and body language are so linked that adopting a certain posture or facial expression will create the corresponding feelings in your mind. You can reverse engineer many emotions by adopting the corresponding body language. Psychology research has found that subjects who assumed a strong, confident physical posture and then spoke with a strong voice and imposing hand gestures actually produced a biochemical reaction that made them feel and seem more confident and powerful. In contrast, those who adopted a hesitant, submissive demeanor experienced the exact opposite biochemical reaction. Displaying confident body language will actually make you feel more confident. These feelings will in turn affect your body language, which will adapt accordingly, displaying yet more confident signals. This will give you yet another feeling boost, and the cycle will build upon itself. Putting it into practice. Using your body to change your mind. Try out the following postures to see for yourself just how powerfully the position of your body can affect your mind and your feelings. Adopt the body language of someone who's depressed. Let your shoulders slump, head hang, and face sag. Without moving a muscle, try to feel really, truly excited. It's nearly impossible. Now do the opposite. Physically spring into excitement. Jump up and down, smile the biggest smile you can, wave your arms in air, and while doing all of this, try to feel depressed. Again, it's nearly impossible. For confidence, assertiveness, and to be able to emanate gravitas, imagine playing the role of a military general. Take a wide stance, puff up your chest, broaden your shoulders, stand straight, and confidently put your arms behind you back. Feel the effect of this posture internally. For a boost in both energy and warmth, stand up, stretch your hands as high up as possible, inhale as much as you can, imagine your rib cage expanding, doubling in size, make the biggest smile you can and look upward, hold for a second, and then relax everything. Warming up for key moments. Plan a warm-up period that allows you to gradually ramp up to the level you want. When you want to ensure peak charismatic performance, don't expect yourself to be on top of your game, going from zero to full charisma instantly at will. You can't rely on pure willpower to get you there. Exerting willpower physically fatigues us. It is a finite resource, so be strategic about where and when you expend it. When you need to be at your most charismatic, be highly vigilant about what's entering your mind. Even the music you listen to can affect your emotional and mental state. Be aware of everything that enters your mind affects your internal state. I curate playlist considering both tempo and lyrics, and when I'm preparing for a key moment, I'm careful to choose songs that correspond with the mood I'm trying to achieve. Putting it into practice. Warming up. When warming up for an important event, follow this chemist to prepare your internal state and maximize your charisma. Go over your schedule for the hours leading up to the event. Think about how the activities and meetings you have planned will affect you. If you can, avoid any difficult encounters and aim for confidence or warmth-boosting experiences instead. Create your own music playlist for the internal state you'd like to have. Chapter 6. Different charisma styles. Focus charisma. Presence and confidence. Focus charisma is primarily based on a perception of presence. It gives people the feeling that you are fully present with them, listening to them and absorbing what they say. Forces charisma makes people feel heard, listened to, and understood. The ability to communicate respect is a key component of focus charisma. We assess focus charisma entirely through demeanor. Presence is key. Because we can perceive and be distracted, initiative body language, such signals would quickly undermine focus charisma. Focus charisma requires the ability to focus and be truly present. Good listening skills are required, as is a degree of patience. To develop focus charisma, cultivate your ability to be present. You'll also need to handle charisma imparting internal discomfort. Focus charisma is the easiest form of charisma to access, but it comes with two risks. If you display too little power, you could come across as too eager, low status, or subservient. The other is displaying too little warmth, which leads to attention that is too intense. Visionary charisma. Belief and confidence. Visionary charisma makes others feel inspired, it makes us believe. It can be remarkably effective even though it won't necessarily make people like you. Visionary charisma is effective because of our natural discomfort with uncertainty. In a constantly changing world, we crave something to cling to. Conveying visionary charisma requires the ability to project complete conviction and confidence in a cause. In this way, visionary charisma is based on power, but it's also based on warmth. Visionary charismatics feel strongly, even passionately, about their vision. And to be truly charismatic, their vision must include a certain amount of nobility and altruism. With visionary charisma, you're selling people on the vision more than on yourself. We assess visionary charisma primarily through demeanor, which includes body language and behavior. The message matters for visionary charisma. This means knowing how to craft a bold vision and knowing how to deliver the message charismatically. One of the keys to communicating your visionary charisma is getting yourself into a state of complete conviction, shedding any doubt. Kindness charisma. Warmth and confidence. Kindness charisma is primarily based on warmth. It connects with people's hearts, and makes them feel welcomed, cherished, embraced, and completely accepted. Like visionary and focus charisma, kindness charisma comes entirely from body language, specifically your face and your eyes. To develop kindness charisma, you need to practice accessing warmth with internal tools such as gratitude, goodwill, compassion, and self-compassion. It is vital to avoid any body language of tension, criticism, or coldness. Kindness charisma is perfect anytime you want to create an emotional bond or make people feel safe and comfortable. Authority charisma. Status and confidence. This is possible the most powerful one of all. Our instinctive deference to authority can take epic proportions. Authority charisma is primarily based on a perception of power. The belief that this person has the power to affect our world. We evaluate someone's authority charisma through 4 indicators: body language, appearance, title, and the reactions of others. We appraise body language first and foremost. Does it emanate confidence in the person's power to influence others? Second, we assess appearance. We are biologically programmed to care about status and to be impressed by it, because high-status individuals have the power to help or hurt us. Clothing is one of our first and strongest clues in evaluating status, thus potential power, thus authority charisma. We pay particular attention to signs of high social status or success, such as expensive clothing. Finally, person's title and the way others react to them give us more clues about their authority charisma, though these last 2 factors carry less weight than the previous 2. Instinctively, we understand that someone who has a high title but garners little respect has less real power than someone of lower title who is greatly respected. If there is a conflict between signals, we'll trust the signals in the order you've just seen. To gain authority charisma, you should project power by displaying signs of status and confidence. Because it is affected so strongly by body language, your authority charisma depends on how confident you feel in that moment. To project power and confidence in your body language, you'll need to learn how to take up space with your posture, reduce nonverbal reassurances, and avoid fidgeting. Choosing clothing that appears expensive or high status is one of the easiest ways to look authoritative. Authoritative charisma has disadvantages. It can inhibit critical thinking in others. It doesn't invite feedback. It can easily make you appear arrogant. Emanating warmth can help resolve these issues. It will reduce the risk of your being perceived as arrogant or intimidating. It will also be more highly valued because you are now seen as high status. Avoid authoritative charisma when you want to encourage creativity or constructive feedback. Here's the modified paragraph based on the table. Charisma comes in various styles, each offering distinct approaches to interpersonal influence. Authority charisma projects confidence and high status, often impressing or intimidating others, making them feel impressed, intimidated, or cowed. Visionary charisma inspires through absolute conviction in noble causes or visions, ensuring people feel inspired and certain. Focus charisma emphasizes attention and presence, ensuring others feel heard, listened to, and understood. Kindness charisma creates emotional connections by projecting warmth, acceptance, and care, making others feel accepted, embraced, and cherished. Balancing these styles involves adjusting warmth, confidence, and vulnerability to suit different contexts and relationships. Each style has its pros and cons, from commanding obedience to fostering creativity, and requires awareness to avoid unintended effects like arrogance or overzealousness. Chapter 7. Charismatic First Impressions. Why do split-second impressions last for so long? When faced with the choice between changing one's mind and raving there is no need to do so, almost everyone get busy on the proof. Once we've made a judgment about someone, we spend the rest of our acquaintanceship seeking to prove ourselves correct. If you make a favorable impression when first meeting someone, the rest of your relationship will be colored by it, thereby tipping the scales in your favor. Even if you're really late to a meeting, it's worth taking just 30 seconds to get back into the right mental state and body language. Otherwise, you risk giving a very uncharismatic impression. The Golden Rule. People like people who are like them. When people are similar in terms of attire, appearance, demeanor, and speech, they automatically assume they share similar social backgrounds, education, and even values. They feel like part of the same tribe. Overall appearance is evaluated before demeanor and body language. Putting it into practice. Tribal wear. If you want to impress others, look at the range of choices within that environment, and choose the upper end. The power of a good handshake. Management experts analyzing interactions in job interviews declared handshakes more important than agreeableness, conscientiousness, or emotional stability. Other studies determined that a handshake improves the quality of the interaction, producing a higher degree of intimacy and trust within a matter of seconds. Putting it into practice. The perfect handshake. Follow these recommendations to perform a perfect handshake. Keep your right hand free. Avoid holding a drink, especially if it's cold, as condensation will make your hand feel clammy. Before shaking someone's hand, rise if you're seated. Keep your hands out of your pockets. Use plenty of eye contact, and smile warmly but briefly. Too much smiling could make you appear overeager. Keep your head straight and face the other person. Keep your hand perpendicular, thumb pointing straight to the ceiling. Get full palm contact by draping your hand diagonally downward. Wrap your fingers around your counterpart's hand. Once you make full contact, lock your thumb down, squeeze to their level of firmness. Shake from the elbow, step back, and then let go. Break the ice. An easy way to start interactions in a way that communicates warmth and send a conversation down the right path is to offer a compliment about something their person is wearing. Continue with an open-end question, such as what's the story behind it? The word story has a very strong emotional effect on most people. It sends them straight into storytelling mode, which instantly changes the rapport between the two of you. Another question to break the ice with. Where are you from? You can follow up with what was it like growing up there? Continue asking open-ended questions. What brought you here tonight, or how are you connected to this event? Aim to keep your questions focused on positive subjects because people will associate you with whatever feelings your conversation generates. If they start talking about you and you want to refocus the conversation on them, use the bounce back technique. Answer the questions with a fact, add a personal note, and redirect the question to them. It's all about keeping the spotlight on them for as long as possible. To make yourself even more relatable, adjust your choice of words, your breadth and depth of vocabulary, and your expressions to suit your audience. Focus on their fields of interest and choose metaphors from those domains. Graceful exits. Becoming a charismatic conversationalist means that people will really enjoy being around you, and may be increasingly reluctant to let you go. Don't wait too long to end it. The easiest way to exit the conversation is to have an official reason for doing so, i.e. you are a volunteer, or are on duty. Another way to exit is to offer something of value. Information. An article, book, or other useful resource. A connection. Someone they should meet. Visibility. An organization you belong to, where you could invite them to speak. Recognition. An award you think they should be nominated for. Offering value will often create in others a feeling of warmth and goodwill toward you, and your departure from the conversation will be haloed by the impression of generosity you've created. Wait until the other person has finished a sentence, then say, you know, based on what you've just said, you really should check out X. If you have a card, I'll send you the link. Then once you have the card, great, I'll email you soon. It was pleasure meeting you. What if you're the one breaking the group? Focus all your attention it particularly warm eye contact on the person that being left behind. This minimizes the chance of their feeling excluded. One way to phrase things is, I'm so sorry, but Christopher is needed to X. Would you allow them to bring him over there? This also gives them a nominal feeling of having a choice in the matter. What impacts people is not the words or content used, it's how the conversation felt. Chapter 8. Speaking and listening with charisma. Charismatic listening. Listening skills are an absolute requirement for charisma. By being a great listener, you can make people feel completely heard and understood without saying a word. There are 3 keys to communicating presence. Attentive listening, refraining from interrupting, and deliberate pausing. Great listening skills require both the willingness and the mental ability to be present, pay attention, and focus on what the other person is saying. Presence is the cornerstone of effective listening. If you are zoning out, bring yourself back to the moment by focusing on physical sensations, like the feeling in your toes. If you feel impatient, handle it by delving into the minute physical sensations you're feeling, then get back to the person. Good listeners know never, ever to interrupt. No matter how congratulatory and arm your input, it will always result in their feeling at least a twinge of resentment of frustration at not having been allowed to complete their sentences. Great listeners know to let others interrupt them. Let people talk about themselves, which will make them feel good. Master listeners know to pause before they answer. This extraordinarily effective habit will make people feel truly listened to and understood. When someone has spoken, see if you can let your facial expression react first, showing that you're absorbing what they've just said and giving their brilliant statement the consideration it deserves. Only then, after about 2 seconds, do you answer. Charismatic speaking. People will associate you with whatever feelings you produce in them. Take a compliment. Negative associations can happen anytime someone feels bad when they're around us, and they are particular risk if we make people feel bad about themselves, wrong, inadequate, or stupid. The next time you're given a compliment, the following steps will help you handle the moment. Stop. Absorb the compliment, enjoy it if you can. Let that second of absorption show on your face. Show the person that they've had an impact. Thank them. Saying thank you very much is enough, but you can thank them for their thoughtfulness. Creating positive associations to highlight the warmth dimension means that you make a person feel good when they're around you. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming truly interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Charismatic people are masters at using positive associations, whether consciously or subconsciously, and you'll often hear people rave about how special and wonderful these charismatics made them feel. Don't try to impress people. Let them impress you, and they will love you for it. Get graphic. Whenever you can, choose to speak in pictures. You'll have a much greater impact, and your message will be far more memorable. Visionary charismatics make full use of the power of images. Try to make your images and metaphors sensory-rich. Involve as many of the 5 senses as possible. Avoid white elephants. When entreated to not think of a white elephant, your brain sooner or later will focus exactly on what you want to avoid. It's not just metaphors that can paint the wrong picture. Common phrases can have the same effect. Phrases like no problem or don't worry can cause people to only remember problem or worry. To counter this negative effect, use phrases like we'll take care of it or please feel free to call anytime. Deliver high value. Anytime you ask people to listen to what you say or read what you've written, you're asking them to spend both their time and their attention on you. You can deliver value in multiple ways. Entertainment. Make your email or meeting enjoyable. Information. Give interesting informative content. Good feelings. Find ways to make them feel important or good. When you speak or write, use few words and lots of pictures, and strive to make your communications useful, enjoyable, and even entertaining. Tuning your voice. Studies have consistently shown that audience ratings of a lecture are more strongly influenced by delivery style than by content. Your voice is key to communicating both warmth and power. MIT research concluded that the success of a sales call could be predicted using 2 factors. Ratio of speaking to listening. Amount of voice fluctuation. The degree to which your voice fluctuates affects your persuasiveness, and your charisma. This means varying your voice in any of the following ways. Pitch, high or low. Volume, loud or quiet. Tone, resonant or hollow. Tempo, fast or slow. Rhythm, fluid or staccato. Putting it into practice. Voice fluctuation. You can get great insights into your own voice fluctuation by practicing sentences with a tape recorder. Repeat a sentence several times with as wide a variation in emotions as you can. Vocal power. If your goal is to communicate power, set the pitch, tone, volume, and tempo in the following way. Pitch and tone. The lower, more resonant, and more baritone your voice, the more impact it will have. Volume. Learn to project your voice. Acquire the ability to modulate its volume and aim it in such a targeted way that specific portions of the audience can hear it, even from afar. Tempo. A slow, measured tempo with frequent pauses conveys confidence. Putting it into practice. Vocal power. The guidelines below will help you broadcast power through your voice. Speak slowly. Visualize the contrast between a nervous, squeaky teenage speaking at high speed and the slow, emphatic tone of a judge delivering a verdict. Pause. People who broadcast confidence often pause while speaking. They will pause for a second or two between sentences or even in the middle of a sentence. This conveys the feeling that they're so confident in their power, they trust that people won't interrupt. Drop intonation. Lowering the intonation of your voice at the end of a sentence broadcasts your power. When you want to sound super confident, you can even lower your intonation mid-sentence. Check your breathing. Make sure you're breathing deeply into your belly and inhale and exhale through your nose rather than your mouth. Breathing through your mouth can make you sound breathless and anxious. Vocal warmth. There's only one thing you need to do in order to project more warmth in your voice. Smile. Smiling affects how we speak to such an extent that listeners in one study could identify 16 different kinds of smiles based on sound alone. That's why it's worth smiling even when on the phone. Chapter 9. Charismatic body language. Body language affects us on a visceral, emotional language. It's this emotional level that you need to access in order to inspire others to follow, care for, or obey you. Logic makes people think. Emotion makes them act. With the right body language, you can succeed even with an imperfect message. Our tendency to react to how something is said more than to what is said is particularly strong in high-stakes situations, whether it's trying to win a new client, impress a new boss, or make a new friend. Emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is the process by which the emotions expressed by one individual are caught by another. Charismatic people are known to be more contagious. They have a strong ability to transmit their emotions to others. As a leader, the emotions conveyed by your body language, even during brief, casual encounters, can have a ripple effect through your team or even your entire company. When positive, emotional contagion can be a wonderful thing. In controlled experimental settings, leaders' positive emotional contagion was shown to improve not only their followers' moods, performance, and effectiveness, but also the followers' perception of the leader's effectiveness. Conscious mirroring. As people spend time together, they tend to adapt to each other's body language. This naturally includes our expression, which end up shaping our faces in similar ways by repeatedly using the same facial muscles. This tendency to mimic the body language of others is technically called limbic resonance, and it's hardwired into the human brain. Imitation someone's body language is an easy way to establish trust and rapport. This technique, often called mirroring or mimicking, is the conscious application of something many charismatic people do instinctively. When you consciously mirror someone's body language, you activate deep instincts of trust and liking. This can be a great aid when you need people to open up. Several studies have found that mirroring someone's body language can get them to pick up your dropped items, buy you products, or give you a better deal. Mirroring even makes you more attractive to others. During your next few conversations, try to mirror the other person's overall posture, and aim to adapt your voice to theirs in speed, pitch, and intonation. To increase subtlety. Be selective. Do only what feels natural to you. Use variation in amplitude. If they make a big gesture, you could make a smaller one. Use lag time. Let a few seconds lapse before you move into the mirrored position. Mirroring someone's body language is often enough to achieve rapport, and sometimes enough to bring the around to your point of view. It can even help overcome a bad first impression. But what about when the other person is exhibiting negative body language? In some situations, you want to first mirror their body language, then gradually lead it in a more positive direction. There are some instances where you don't want to mirror a person's body language. If their demeanor is angry or defensive, mirroring would only escalate the tensions. Rather than mirroring, try breaking them out of their posture by handing them something. As soon as they are in a new position, distract them by giving them new information or changing the subject, and mirror their new positions to establish rapport. Our physiology affects our psychology. That's why it's important to get someone who is in an angry, stubborn, or defensive posture to change their body language before you attempt to change their mind. As long as their body is in a certain emotional mode, it will be nearly impossible to get their mind to feel something different. Personal space. In nonverbal communication, one crucial element for making people feel at ease and establishing rapport is respecting the amount of personal space they need to be comfortable. Personal space affects our interactions with others and how we perceive situations. For example, that's why negotiators choose their seats around a table so carefully. They know their seating choice can influence the outcome of the entire negotiations. When people are sitting across from each other with a table dividing them, they tend to speak in shorter sentences, are more likely to argue, and can recall less of what was said. Putting it into practice. Charismatic seating choices. The next time you want to establish warm rapport with someone, avoid a confrontational seating arrangements and instead sit either next to or at 90-degree angle from them. This is something you can try out with a partner. Start a conversation sitting next to each other. After 5 minutes, change positions so you're facing each other. After another 5 minutes, move to a 90-degree angle. Finally, come back to your original position sitting next to each other. Pay close attention to the rise and fall of feelings of trust and comfort throughout the exercise. If you want someone to feel comfortable, avoid seating them with their back to an open space, particularly if others are moving behind them. This kind of seating position causes the breathing rate, heart rate, and blood pressure to increase rapidly, especially if the person back is toward an open door or window at ground level. And by association, their discomfort would likely affect their perception of you. Your eyes, the windows to your should. Profound eye contact can have a powerful impact on people, It can communicate empathy and give an impression of thoughtfulness, wisdom, and intelligence. Eye contact is one of the main ways charismatic masters make you feel that you are the most important person in the room. When you stare with intensity at someone, it can speed up their heart rate and send a hormone called phenylethylamine, or P, coursing through their bloodstream. P is the same hormone that produces the phenomenon we call love at first sight. Our brains are hardwired to experience separation distress whenever someone with whom we have significant eye contact turns away. One good way to avoid creating this anxiety is to keep eye contact for 3 full seconds at the end of your interaction with someone. You also need to know how to use the right kind of eye contact. The degree and the precise kind of tension that shows around through our eyes dramatically impact how we are perceived. If we're in narrow, focused, evaluative attentions, our stress system will be on constant, low-grade alert. This brings our eyes into sharp focus, increases our stress responses, and results in both our face and our eyes tensing. It greatly inhibits the amount of warmth we can project. Charismatic eye contact means switching to a softer focus, which immediately relaxes our eyes and face, and quiets down our stress system. Putting it into practice. Charismatic eyes. To truly understand how different your face appears when your eyes are relaxed and open, go see the transformation for yourself. Find a room with a mirror. Close your eyes and think of a recent annoyance, some minor issue that's been bugging you lately. When you feel the irritation take hold, open your eyes and look closely in the mirror. Note some of the tension around your eyes, their narrowness. Now close your eyes and think of something that would induce warm feelings. When the warmth has arisen, open your eyes and look at that precise kind of relaxation. That's what warmth looks like. Close your eyes once more and think of an exciting time when you felt full of confidence, and on top of the world. Now open your eyes again, and note closely what they look like now. That's what confidence looks like. The right posture for nonverbal power. When someone displays high confidence through their body language, we tend to assume they have something to be confident about. People simply accept what you project. Be the big gorilla. Powerful people sit sideways on chairs, drape their arms over the back, or appropriate 2 chairs by placing an arm across the back of an adjacent chair. They put their feet on the desk. They sit on the desk. All of these behaviors are ways of claiming space. Learn how to take up space and get comfortable doing so. Keep in mind you'll need the freedom of motion to inflate your chest. Anytime your breathing is shallow, you activate the stress response. It's hard to feel calm, relaxed, and confident when you're not getting enough oxygen and your body thinks it's in fight or flight mode. Putting it into practice. Being the big gorilla. This is a great exercise to use before any meeting or interaction where you want to both feel and broadcast confidence. Follow these steps. Make sure you can breathe. Stand up and shake your body. Take a wide stance and plant your feet firmly on the ground. A stable stance helps you feel and project more confidence. Stretch your arms to the ceiling, trying to touch it with your fingertips. Now stretch your arms to the walls on either side of you, trying to touch them. Bring your arms loosely to your sides, and roll your shoulders up and then back. Inflate. Try to take up as much space as possible. Imagine puffing up like a gorilla, doubling in size. People who assume expansive poses experience a measurable physiological shift. Assuming a strong, confident physical posture will aim and you feel more confident and more powerful. As you feel more powerful, your body language adapts accordingly. Regal posture. The kind of high status, high confidence body language is characterized by how few movements are made. Composed people exhibit a level of stillness, which is described as poise. They avoid extraneous, superfluous gestures such as fidgeting or nodding, which behavior experts identify as low status. They are often signs used by someone wanting to convey reassurance to the person they are interacting with. The desire to convey reassurance can stem from 2 different sources. Empathy. Wanting to ensure that the other person feels heard and understood and knows you are paying attention. Insecurity. Wanting to please or appease the person you are interacting with. People who come across as high status are usually more contained. To increase your poise, look out for 3 major issues. Excessive or rapid nodding. Excessive verbal reassurance. Sounds like who, or half sentences like oh, I agree. Restlessness or fidgeting. Fidgeting decreases presence, and thus charisma. Even when you have warmth, confidence, and are mentally present, if you are physically restless, you can't be charismatic. How to break these habits? The first step is awareness. Videotaping yourself can be very helpful. Catch yourself when you find yourself nodding or verbally reassuring, and try to replace it with stillness and silence. Get comfortable with silence, inserting pauses between your sentences and even mid-sentence. Be aware that broadcasting too much power can come across as arrogant or intimidating. The warmth-enhancing techniques, such as keeping your eyes in soft focus, will counter this. Aim to bring your chin down a few degrees. This avoids giving the impression that you're contemptuously looking down your nose at someone, and makes you appear more thoughtful, attentive, and deliberate as your eyes automatically open wider. Chapter 10. Difficult situations. Dealing with difficult people. Divide and conquer. Every time someone sees you, their perception of you is filtered through the context in which you both operate. Their internal state and their personal and cultural filters. It's far more difficult to have charisma when dealing with a group because you must handle all the individual contexts on top of the group dynamic. When you have a group of difficult people to convince, you'll have much greater chances of success if you work on each of them individually. Make them rationalize in your favor. Benjamin Franklin's favorite way to win over his political opponents was not to do them favors but rather ask them for favors. Ask your opponent to do you a favor. If your opponent does the favor, the opponent had to either consider themselves inconsistent, having done a favor for someone they dislike, or rationalize their action by deciding that they actually rather like you. I did something nice for this person, so I must like him. I wouldn't have agreed to do a favor for someone I dislike. That wouldn't make sense. Asking for someone's opinion is a better strategy than asking for their advice, because giving advice feels like more effort, as they have to tailor a recommendation to your situation, whereas with an opinion, they just spout whatever is on their mind. Find ways to remind your opponent of any help they've given you in East. Express your appreciation and gratitude, highlight the choice they made, the effort they put in. This will make them rationalize their actions in your favor. Expressing appreciation. We all crave Hohn's appreciation. It's a gnawing and unfaltering human hunger, and the rare individual who satisfies it will hold people in the palm of his hand. The most effective and credible compliments are those that are both personal and specific. The more appreciation you express and the more you show them the impact they've had on you, the more they will like you and feel invested in your success. They'll rationalize in your favor. When you show people how they've impacted you, they feel that they've in a sense made you. This sense of ownership gives them a vested interest, and they identify with you, you become part of their identity. Therefore, they feel more responsibility for ensuring your success. Remind people that they had a choice and that they chose you. Your company, your service, your idea, is one of the most useful tools to maintain their support for you or your idea, particularly when the going gets rough and people start complaining. This process works in reverse. If someone feels like they've done you harm, they will seek to rationalize their actions and will convince themselves that what they did was justified. They don't feel like a bad person, therefore you must have done something wrong in order for them to act this way toward you. You can also use rationalization for the idea you're supporting. By showing someone the impact they've had on a project or an idea, they will feel a degree of ownership of it, and then instinctively will feel driven to support it. Better yet, show the person how this idea or project was, at its very core, inspired by what they did in the past. Don't go in unprotected. Dealing with a difficult person, like any hostile situation, can activate your stress system, sending adrenaline flooding through your body. When dealing with a difficult person, get into empathy and stay there. Hostility is often nothing but the external manifestation of internal turmoil. Getting into empathy will protect your mental and emotional state, and give you the right body language throughout. Delivering bad news. Before delivering bad news, think about the setting, remembering that people will transfer their feelings for the environment to the experience itself. As much as you can, choose a comfortable location. Do whatever you can to increase their comfort. Make it easy for them by having objects closely with which they can play, and thus more quickly feel at ease, while conversing with you. The right body language for delivering bad news is one of warmth, care, concern, understanding, and empathy. Delivering criticism. Think about timing and the location. They to be as empathetic as possible in your choice of both. With criticism, provide it as soon as possible after witnessing the behavior you want to change. Just be sure the person is in a physically and emotionally receptive state when you do so. Get into the right mindset, on of compassion and empathy. When people feel that you have their best interests at heart, it can change the dynamic entirely. Decide exactly what points you want to make. Be specific. Depersonalize. Communicate that what you're critiquing is the behavior, not the person. If possible, don't mention their actions at all. Just explain what's going on for you, or the impact of their actions. Critical delivery. If you start your criticism with a positive beginning, it will affect the rest of the experience. In their fist moments, when people are most apprehensive, what they need is reassurance. Tell them you value them, recognize their actions. Once they are assured of their own worth, people will accept your comments far more easily, and they'll get less defensive. Try to avoid making people feel wrong when you're delivering criticism. When someone is told they're wrong, even when they realize they're at fault, they will strive to justify themselves. It can wound their ego and arouse their resentment, leading them to discredit you in an attempt to lessen their own guilt. It's critical to stay attentive to any signals that the other person might be getting defensive. When you sense defensiveness, dial up your warmth and get them back into a more positive frame of mind. Verbally. Encourage positive mental associations. Mention something they've done well or something you approve. Non-verbally. Use your body language to influence theirs. Get back into a state of goodwill so that it plays out across your face. Aim to close the conversation on a positive note, for example. Talk about the next steps, which gives a sense of constructive, forward motion. Tell them how much you appreciate how well they took your feedback. Bring up something that both of you can look forward to in the future. Apologies. As always, get into the right mental state. This means, first and foremost, forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself and getting into a good mental state also helps you avoid appearing overly apologetic, subservient, or insecure. Because so much of our communication is nonverbal, when you apologize in person, you have the greatest number of tools at your disposal. On the other hand, some people find it easier to handle such difficult situations with the distance that a written medium provides. You can put hours of thinking into what you want to say, and really get it right. Putting things in writing can also be a powerful statement. Hear them out. Start off by letting the other person have their say. Listen, and give them the complete presence of focus charisma. At this point, interrupting is the worst move you could possibly make. No matter how valid your point is, they will feel belittled rather than accepted and understood. Be fully present, and focus your entire attention on determining precisely what the complaint is. Goodwill matters here, too. Just coming into a conversation with the mindset of "help me understand how you see things" can change the outcome completely. Once you're sure that you fully understand the complaint, and if you agree that the fact was yours, a true blue apology is in order. What matters is the thoughtfulness, concern, and sense of personal involvement you convert. Sincerity is key. You need to sound as if you really mean it. Show that you understand the direct consequences, but also their ramifications. Then show what you will do to make things right, or make sure it will never happen again. Talking on the phone. On the phone, always ask, "Is this a good time for you?" Bad timing means bad results for you. When you are talking to someone on the phone, focus and be quiet. Don't eat, drink, or type. People will hear, and will wonder what it is you're really paying attention to. Doing something else are also inadvisable too often. This'll cause a slight lag in your response time, which will make you sound like your mind is wandering. To communicate presence, you can close your eyes when listening. Get away from all distractions. Stay standing and walk around. Your voice will sound more energetic, while focusing entirely on the phone call. Use the same body language techniques as you would in person. One specific recommendation: do not answer the phone in a warm or friendly manner. Instead, answer crisply and professionally. Only after you hear who is calling, let warmth or even enthusiasm pour forth in your voice. This simple technique is an easy and effective way to make people feel special. Chapter 11. Presenting with charisma. Constructing a charismatic message. You will often be communicating with attention-starved audiences who will devote only part of their attention to what you are saying. Select the single most important idea you want to convey and make it as crystal clear and easy to understand as you possibly can. Ideally, you should be able to articulate your message in one sentence. Within this one main message, have 3 to 5 key supporting points. Each point should open with entertaining anecdotes, fascinating facts, compelling statistics, great metaphors, examples, and analogies. Audiences will often remember the first story, and only second the point the story was making. To make your story more efficient, choose characters that are similar to the Pope in your audience to make them relatable. Make the story dramatic. You're calling on visionary charisma here, and as with all forms of charisma, you're tapping into people's emotional side. Whether you use a story, example, number, or statistic, make sure you close with either a clear point or a transition to the action step you want your audience to take. Make this so simple, even a multitasking, partially listening audience member would get it. You want to end on a high note, so avoid ending with Q&A. Personally, I avoid formal Q&A entirely. Instead, my introduce warns that there will be no Q&A session at the end, so their one and only chance to ask questions is during the speech. This has the added advantage of increasing the audience's involvement, participation, and general energy level. Tips to craft better sentences. It's all about them. Use the word you as often as possible. Use their words, stories, metaphors, and verbs. Get graphic. The brain thinks in pictures, so choose language that is vivid and sensory-rich. Keep it short. Each sentence should add value. Creating a charismatic appearance. Social psychologists have researched chromite effects of clothing. Red conveys passion. Wear red to wake up an audience. Black shows you're serious and that you won't take no for an answer. White exudes honesty and innocence, which is why defendants often choose it in the courtroom. Blue emits trust. The darker the shade, the deeper the level of trust it elicits. Gray is a good neutral, the quintessential color of business. Orange and yellow are not recommended. Because they are the first to attract the human eye, they are also the first to tire it. Rehearsing for charisma. Charisma takes practice. When a speech is important, I practice until every breath is perfect, because knowing I've got the speech so well mastered allows me to be spontaneous. I know that I have muscle memory to fall back on. Try to perform the entire speech at least once in front of a live audience as a trial run. Projecting power. Charismatic speakers know how to give the impression that they're as comfortable walking across the stage as they would be walking across their living room. This is called owning the stage, and there are 3 tricks to making it happen. When you stand, be sure to have a wide stance, well balanced on both feet. Not only will you feel more confident, you'll also look more confident, more stable, than if you were standing on one foot. Wide, stable stances also help you to project confidence. Practice without a podium or a lectern. Speaking behind one can give the impression that you're fearful to venture out, and prefer staying behind the safety of a shield. Moving comfortably around the stage will make you appear much more confident, powerful, and charismatic. Third, find the right volume to project confidence. Just before the speech, to ask a few people sitting in the back of the room to be your sound experts and give you a pre-arranged signal to raise or lower your volume if need be. Projecting warmth. To make your audience feel particularly special, speak as if you were sharing a secret. Another way to make people feel special as you roam about the stage is to give 1 to 2 seconds of eye contact per person. Pause, breathe, and slow down. Today, when learning a new speech, I'll often still include notes to myself every few pages. Pause. Breathe. Slow down. With your brain going on hyperdrive, you'll also tend to speak faster. It's really worth paying attention to your tempo, because the slower you speak, the more thoughtful and deliberate you will sound, and the more attention people will give to what you say. Throughout your speech, pause frequently, deliberately. Have the confidence to make your listeners wait for your words. It's called a dramatic pause for a reason. It adds drama. After delivering a key point or an impactful story, pause for a few seconds to let your audience take it in. Pausing is important to begin and to end your speeches. When you walk on stage, come to the center, face the audience, and stop. Remain completely silent as you count 3 full seconds while slowly sweeping your eyes across the crowd and making eye contact. This may feel endless, but it will be well worth it. Nothing rivets an audience's attention like this kind of silence. After your last words, pause, then say thank you and stay there while you endure the applause for a few seconds. Mid-chorus corrections. If you've luckily noticed the critical thoughts before the corresponding emotions fully blossomed, aim for a quick perspective shift, rewriting your reality. Just considering, even for a second, the mistake you're made as a good thing can be enough to stop the fight or flight response in its tracks. Putting it into practice. Mid-chorus corrections. Check your body. Make sure that no tense posture is worsening your inner state. Take a deep breath and relax your body. Destigmatize and dedramatize. Remember that this happens to everyone, and it will pass. If any negative thoughts are present, remember they're just thoughts, and not necessarily valid. Find little things to be grateful for. Your ability to breathe, the fact you will still be alive by the end of this. Imagine a great hug from someone you trust for 20 seconds. Once your threat response is quoted down, to bring yourself into a state of confidence, remember a moment in your life when you felt absolute triumph. Thanks to your brain's inability to distinguish imagination from reality, your body will be filled with the same cocktail of chemicals as it was during that confidence-filled moment, thereby changing your body language into exactly what you need to be impressive, persuasive, and inspiring again. Practice this process with little crises as often as possible, so that when a big crisis hits it's second nature. Speech day. Getting into the zone. Putting it into practice. Speech day checklist. Arrive early if you can, walk the stage to visualize and own the stage. Go into a quiet room nearby, and use internal tools such as visualization to get into a state of confidence and warmth. Pause before you start. Count 3 beats, facing the audience, before you speak. During the presentation, expect things to go wrong, whether an external disruption of your flubbing something. Use the mid-course correction tools you've just learned. Take it with humanity and invited the audience into this mistake as a shared joke. Throughout your speech, remember to pause, breathe, and slow down. Chapter 12. Charisma in a crisis. It's easier to be perceived as charismatic during a crisis because people facing an emergency are more readily affected by a leader's magnetism. They become charisma hungry. People who respond to crisis with bold, decisive actions will be perceived as charismatic. First, retain at least a certain measure of equanimity. Anxiety impacts how you feel, how you perform, and how others perceive you, and react to you. Your body language will have an even greater emotional contagion effect than usual. Second, express high expectations. Sometimes, simply assigning to people the labels you want them to live up to is enough. Expressing high performance of expectations of people while communication a high degree of confidence in their ability to meet those expectations is the hallmark of charismatic leadership. Third, articulate a vision. A charismatic vision is what will give your charisma staying power when the crisis is over. Your vision must vividly illustrate the difference between the way things are now and the way they could be. Once you have expressed your vision, be bold and decisive. Chapter 13. The Charismatic Life. Rising to the challenge. As you become more charismatic and successful, people can start envying you. Here's a framework you can use to prevent envy. Justification. Create an excuse for contacting the person. It can't seem completely out of the blue. Your name came up or X reminded me of you. Appreciation. Thank the person for what they've done for you. You can also acknowledge good advice or interesting information someone gave you. Lay it all out. Demonstrate exactly how the person helped you and acknowledge their effort. Impact. Let them know the positive impact they've had on you. Tell them the difference it made to you personally, make it dramatic. People love to feel important. Responsibility. This creates a feeling of responsibility. It gives people a feeling of vested interest in your success. Give them as much credit as you can. Make them feel that they own your success and they will feel driven to help you continue to succeed. It's important to show your vulnerability. Practice it first in low-stakes situations.